Welcome to Bulldog Talk on the Edge.
I'm your host, Malaysia Brown, along with my co-host,
Landon Rutledge,
Jason Walton,
Elijah Clark,
Bryson Jones, and William Cruz.
And today we're here with Judge Patricia Stephens. Judge Stephens became a circuit court judge, domestic relations, in January of 2013. Judge Stephens is a member of Alabama Bar State Association, the Birmingham Bar Association, the Magic City Bar Association, and the Birmingham Inn of Court.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here with each and every one of you today. And I must say that I am already impressed with the job that you're doing.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming. With that being said, I want to go ahead and ask you a question. What made you go into law?
It's a long story. I briefly thought about becoming an attorney when I graduated from Auburn University. However, I had never met a lawyer. I didn't know any lawyers. The only lawyers I had seen were the ones on TV. So, because of that brief thought didn't turn into a reality because in my mind, I wasn't white male, I wasn't smart enough, and I was not good enough to be an attorney. And that was right after I graduated from Auburn around 1982, before any of you were born. But that inkling of an idea never went away. So in 1994, 1995 or so, I was working in corporate America, and they had a seminar and had a speaker to come in to that meeting at my job. And the lady that came to speak to us was Attorney Helen Shores Lee, a petite, beautiful, articulate, and just wonderful lady. And that was my first time actually seeing someone that looked like me that was actually a lawyer. It was at that point that I realized I can be an attorney too. So it was less than 2 years later that I started law school after I actually saw her and realized that it could happen.
That was beautiful.
So I got another question. Did you have a goal to become a judge?
When I became an attorney, I did not. But guess what happened with that same attorney that I first saw? About 3 years after I started practicing law, she was appointed judge. So once she was appointed judge, I thought to myself, I can be a judge also. So that thought didn't come until some years later.
Thank you. This is my first question. What is it like to be a Black female judge in Jefferson County, Alabama?
Some days it can be challenging, and it's very, very different. Now, one of the things that you have to realize about being a judge, being a teacher, you are that person 24/7. So being a Black female judge in Jefferson County, I always want to put my best foot forward. I never want it to be where I embarrass the bench or I embarrass Black people who have supported me to get to this position, because it is a position that the Jefferson County voters have voted me into for not one term, not 2 terms, but for my 3rd term. So being a Black female judge in this county, I always want to put my best foot forward. I always want to know that make sure that I've researched the law, that I know the law, that I run my courtroom efficiently. That's always my goal.
Thank you.
My next question I have for you is, was there anyone you admired who made you want to be a lawyer or a judge?
Absolutely. And that is Judge Helen Shores Lee, who is now deceased. That was my first opportunity to actually see a Black female and to be in the presence of a Black female who was actually an attorney.
Thank you. This is my final question. I understand that you used to work You used to work in a criminal law, and now you work in a family law. What is your favorite type of law to work with?
Well, I have to say this. I don't have a favorite type of law. I love the law, period. And when you get the opportunity to work in different areas of the law, it's always a blessing. You always have to be a student of the law in whichever area you're working. Now, I have been thoroughly, thoroughly blessed in that I was a criminal prosecutor, and that season was a great and wonderful season, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I left the DA's office and went to work for a general practice law firm. I was there for 3 years. I loved being with the general practice law firm. There was a transition from criminal law to civil and civil procedure, and having to relearn some things that I had learned in law school. So one of the lessons for us all is that you're constantly learning and moving forward. And then, of course, I was elected to the bench in family law. That season for the last 13 years has been just fantastic. So it's been seasons that I've actually enjoyed, but I love the law, period.
Thank you.
Okay, touching back on the first couple of questions that we asked, what do you feel like are some of the biggest misunderstandings about being a judge?
I think one of the biggest ones is that people think you can just walk in and talk to the judge whenever you get ready. You can't do that. All parties have to be present to talk to the judge if it's about your case. So there has to be a motion filed, and that motion has to be set for a hearing, and all parties have to be present. One party can't walk into the judge's office and say, "Hey, let me talk about the case," whether that be the attorney or a litigant. And as a judge, and most judges have had to say to litigants and have had to say to attorneys, "I'm not going to talk about that case," and all the parties are not present.
I have a
also-
side question.
I also have a
Like-
question for you.
What do you mean by party?
Litigants, plaintiff and defendant, the
Oh.
people actually involved in the litigation.
Oh, thank
Good
you.
question.
I also have a question for you. In your opinion, do you think there should be more people of color in your field, and why?
Absolutely, there should be more people in our field. We always bring to whatever field that we're in, we bring our life experiences to that field. So we need people who understand struggles. We need people that understand differences in culture. So it's very important that we have people that look like us in those positions. Very, very, very important.
I also have a side question. As a woman of color, going through like the law system and becoming a judge, what did you face any struggles with respect and things like that?
I'll tell you something that was really funny when I was a prosecuting attorney. I would be in the courtroom, and the attorneys would have to come to me to ask me for their offers. I would get a tap on the shoulder, usually by a white male, who would ask me, "Where are the probation reports?" They would assume I was the probation officer, and I would just look at them and say, "I don't know." And I'd let someone else tell them, "That's the prosecuting attorney."
Thank you for telling me that. That really, it touched basically on what I was asking, just knowing, because a lot of people go through, especially and you have jobs like that, as a woman, even if you're not like a woman of color, you go through a lot of stuff with men in general, like thinking that they're superior and more so over ahead of you just because of your gender or your race. So thank you.
Thank you for that question. A great question.
I also have a question. What do you want students to know about how to become a lawyer or a judge?
The things that I didn't know about becoming lawyer and becoming a judge. Number one, make sure that you do well in school and learn everything that you can learn, because to become a lawyer, to go to law school, you're going to have to take an examination to get into law school, and your GPA needs to be good so that you are accepted into the law school of your choice. That's going to be 3 years beyond your undergraduate degree. So whatever you do, put your best foot forward always. Do your very best always, so that you have those options and you have those choices. If you don't put your very best foot forward, then you may not get the same opportunities.
I have a side question. Let's say if you wanna become someone like a lawyer, but you start to like, let's say you're in 10th grade, but in 9th grade you didn't do anything good. Is there any way you can go up and still become a lawyer?
Absolutely. And the good thing is, start to recognize, okay, I didn't do as good in 9th grade as I should, but let me work to excel in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Now, the thing is, with your GPA and pulling it up, you may not get into Harvard, but you may get into Birmingham School of Law. You may not get into Yale, but you may get into Miles Law School. So that's something that you would have to consider.
I also have a side question. As a lawyer, what do you feel like is one of the best schools to go through for law?
Well, let me say it like this. I went to Miles Law School. Miles Law School is a night program, and it's on the campus of Miles College. I had to work full-time and go to school full-time at night. I can't say and won't say the very best law school, because guess what? As a Miles Law School graduate, I took the same bar exam that the Yale graduate took, that the Harvard graduate took, and I passed the bar the very first time. So you go to the law school that you're most comfortable with and where you're guided to go.
Thank you.
I have one more question for you. Is there a hard case that still stays with you that you can talk about?
Well, I'll say this. In general, in working in divorce court, the cases that are the most difficult are the child custody cases. And I'll say this in general. The cases that stick with me the most are the cases in which there is a torn relationship between the children and either the mother or the father. As a judge, I want to fix those relationships, and I can't always fix those relationships. So those are the most difficult. Those cases stay with me. The cases where I have young men or young women who say they never, ever want to see their parent again once they turn 19, those cases stick with me. Those are also the cases where I try to encourage the parents to cultivate a relationship that will be for a lifetime, not just to say, this is my child and this is my time and I want them with me right now, and the child doesn't want to be with them, but to work with them, to nurture the relationship so that they grow, so that they can have a relationship even when the children become adults. So those cases stay with me, where I've had the children to tell me when I turn 19, I never want to see mom again, or I never want to see dad again.
I have a side question. Do you feel like there's like a big emotional toll when it comes down to like seeing all these families going through so much trauma and all these kids with like being abused by their parents, or like mothers not being in touch with the father, not being able to provide for their children?
Yeah. There is a huge emotional toll. And that's one of the things that I tell couples that come into my court. My goal is to make sure that there's a relationship between the child and mother and father. So I have situations where there are parents, and I tell them, you don't like each other now, but you used to like each other. And you have created this child who is a part of both of you. And my goal is to facilitate a relationship between mom and dad, and that's what I'm going to do my best to do at all times.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here, Judge. Is there anything that we did not ask you that you want to share with our audience?
Well, I have to say this. You have put my feet to the fire. The questions have been excellent, and I appreciate this opportunity that you've given me to speak with each and every one of you. I don't know of anything that I can add because you covered it and covered it well. And thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. We enjoyed having you on our podcast, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you.